let's briefly talk about the last episode of the show. How to celebrate the 50th episode of Keeping It Realistic. We made a special session with some of you, very beloved group members. Here, Anna, Danushka, Kacper, Amit, and Amir, going live with me for the 50th episode, and it was a great success. Despite some technical issues Amir and I had, he wasn't able to connect to Riverside for the most time. I had some freezes and issues also. I don't know where they came from. The whole city here is a construction site right now because of fiberglass cables that we're getting in the city. Maybe this caused some interferences. I don't know, but I didn't have the best experience technically seen. Nevertheless, the show was a great success. It has more than 1,200 views in the meantime, which is really a lot. And also, what I heard from people, despite the show being almost 3 hours long, what I heard from viewers reaching out to me, telling me that it was so awesome, they enjoyed it so much that they didn't feel when all that time went by. So I think I consider it a great success. Also, my guests, respectively co-reviewers, did really, really well, especially given that they're not used to doing all of this, being in front of the camera on a regular basis. I mean, Kacper, he bought the camera just for this event. He didn't even have one. So yeah, they were not used. They were doing something in a non-native language, and they did it so well. But you may ask yourselves, why did the guests have to do that reviewing? Was it necessary? So let me explain my reasoning behind this. As a mentor in this community, I'm trying to give you things that you cannot get elsewhere, at least not for free. This is why I don't do tutorials, because there are tons of great tutorials out there which are done by people who are very experienced in doing tutorials, who are very technically knowledgeable, more than I am. So I don't think it makes sense to duplicate that when we already have it. At the same time, I'll stop this here maybe for a second and make myself on a widescreen. At the same time, what I can do for you, however, is I can review your works and provide you with well-meant and constructive feedback based on years of experience and a certain amount of success. I can share my insights and experiences with you by discussing topics that usually don't get discussed in YouTube tutorials. Like, we talked about how to deal with works that you're not so happy with the outcome of, or how to make the most out of your render projects. And of course, what I can also do for you is give you the chance to exercise your skills in a safe and friendly environment within the limits of the Chaos Campus group and the Keeping It Realistic show. And one of those skills that I want you to exercise is marketing yourself, putting yourself out there, leaving your comfort zone and doing something that I know you're not really that comfortable with. For example, reviewing works in English on a live event, even though you're not a native speaker, even though you feel nervous, even though you have self-doubts. This is why I decided to do the show like this and have my guests do reviews. Because I believe that in order to learn and advance, you need to challenge yourself. And let me give you an example. Before that, I'll read Amit's comments. He says, Rifat says, thank you, Theo, for the information. You're very welcome. This is what I'm here for. Amit says, thank you, Theo, for the kind words and giving us an opportunity to go live and connect with the group and let us share our part of the story. Yeah, you did that really, really well. We'll talk about it more after I finish giving you this example, because I said you need to leave your comfort zone, you need to challenge yourself. So I decided to give you an example from my own life. So I came to Germany here in 2004 to study architecture at the Technical University in Constance, right? And I was 18 back then, and I was the youngest. Most of the other students were mid-20s, 30s. There were even people in their 40s, right? So, and those people had some skills, like some of them were CAD drawers or technical drawers. Most of them had done internships in architectural offices or design offices. Some had even had buildings done after their plans, right? And I had no skill. The last years in high school, I had learned German, which, as you may imagine, isn't a big deal when you're among Germans, native speakers, right? So I was very shy about my skills and about presenting. And when we had group projects, I would often suggest that I do more of the work, but in the end, I do less of the presenting. And of course, all the people that I was in a group with agreed with this, because it's a great deal for them, not for me, actually. Because try to imagine this from the point of view of a professor, So you give a task to a group of students, let's say 3 people, they go away, a few weeks later they come back and they start presenting. 2 of them start presenting and being very passionate about this task, and the third one sits on the side shyly and like he doesn't know what he's about. And this third one, it was me. So obviously in the eyes of the professors, I was just a lazy bastard who probably hasn't even done a lot of work on the group project at all, which is not so great, as you may imagine. So I knew I had to change this for sure, especially with my bachelor thesis approaching. So what I decided to do is to visit a rhetorics seminar within the limits of the technical university. And believe me, this was not a pleasant experience. So if this is my comfort zone here, the rhetorics seminar was somewhere here, okay? It was awful. You go into this small room where there is a camera, like a TV studio camera, like from the national news or the ones you see on football stadiums, on a huge tripod with a person behind it pointing it in different directions. And then you stand in front of this camera, like 1 or 2 meters away from it, and you're supposed to do presentations for all those people that are with you, and for the camera. You don't know many of those people, so they're kind of foreign to you. And it feels awful, believe me. Like, how in cartoons or in comics, there is a situation where the protagonist gets a devil and an angel on their shoulders, and they have very opposing opinions. Like, the devil is like, yeah, do it. And the angel is, no, you shouldn't be. In my case, it wasn't a devil and an angel. It was more of the one shoulder, it was pragmatism. It was being reasonable. It was being forward-looking and knowing exactly how useful this skill is going to be to me. On the other shoulder, I had anxiety, uncertainty, self-doubt. And the other shoulder was like, dude, just say that you're not feeling well, leave here and never come back. But I decided to pull through. And once again, it wasn't a pleasant time. I remember once we had this exercise where we needed to say something rhetorical to our audience and then pause for a few seconds, for like 3 seconds. And believe me, you do your presentation in front of all those people, in front of the camera, and then comes the moment where you say this rhetorical question and then you must do this pause of 3 seconds. This is fucking forever, okay? This is like you stop talking and you start counting in your head. And you think, okay, this is an eternity. People will just start throwing tomatoes at me or just stand up and start leaving and cursing at me. And then you watch the recording and it comes to this moment and you're anxious about the moment because you think, well, now comes the moment where I just stop talking for an hour or so, it felt. And then you just see you just giving this rhetorical question like, what do you think? And that was it. This was just a small pause after this. It was very, very normal pause. It wasn't long enough. And then you know how your nervousness and your anxiety lead to this very distorted perception of reality, And the more you have this distorted perception of how bad this is, of how much fear you have of it, the more fear you have it and the less likely you are to even start doing it at some point. But once you try it out and you see it's not that bad, your life doesn't depend on it, nobody's life depends on it actually, then you get a higher self-esteem. You are more confident. And I absolutely aced my bachelor speech. I have a perfect note on it, as the only one who has it, and a perfect note also on my project. So I was the only one, the youngest, with a perfect note. And I'm not showing off here. I just want to show you that it actually helps. And even though I didn't really enjoy my time a lot, even though with every next time it was better and better, I'm so thankful that I decided to do this, because it wasn't only important for my bachelor speech. I'm using those skills up until this day. Most of my projects I don't deliver just by sending an email with the images attached. I actually there is a big jump in, let's say, I'm almost ready. In the previous let's say state my client saw was, let's say, a clay model defining the viewing angles or something, and then I did everything else. Everything is now textured, populated, the lighting is set up, and everything is great. I don't usually send this over as an email or as an attachment of an email. I actually like to do this live, on a live session, where I share my screen and show the images to the clients, where I also get the chance to present them to the clients. And believe me, this has paid off more than once. And the rhetoric seminar back in 2007 or something definitely helps me with every next presentation that I do, including what I do right now with you today here. So this is why I made my guests review those works, and I actually plan to double down on it even by inviting those of you who feel like it, one by one, this time not as a group, to be my co-reviewers in future shows, without the show being a special episode or something, just like a regular show like today. But you can tune in with me and be my co-reviewer, and we can discuss. Of course, you'll get the chance to introduce yourself. After that, we will discuss a few works, and by the end of the show, instead of me talking about general stuff like now, we can answer some of the questions that I have for you, or the audience has for you. And this will teach you to be in front of the camera, because once again, here we are in a safe and good environment. Nobody here wants anything bad for you. Nobody wants you to fail. And even if you forget words, even if you forget your sentence or what you wanted to say, it's not a big deal. Nothing important is going to fail because of this. This is not a job interview or something like this, but it can give you the platform to train for those job interviews, or for important talks, or for future presentations and whatnot. So in future, I will make it with a more official post at some point, probably. But in future, I really want to have, from time to time, when you guys want, without any obligations, some of you, one by one, once again, be here with me and be my co-reviewers, my guests, and just learn to do this just to be in front of the camera, to talk to other people, to improvise, and all of this. And I promise you, this is a skill that you cherish for all of your life, even in your own language. It's just important. I mean, the rhetoric seminar I visited was in German, and now I do a show in English. And if I go to this BEAM event in September in Berlin, I probably will have to talk in front of people, and the rhetoric seminar is the strong foundation I will be leaning upon, knowing that I'll be able to do it. So that was it for this part. Still talking about the 50th episode of the show. Let me make myself small again. Talking about the 50th episode of the show, even though Anna, Amir, Amit, Danushka, and Kacper did a great job, I actually regret having them do the reviews, because this was a celebration episode, and it should have been, with 5 people being there, it should have been focused on them rather than on the works, because now many questions were left unanswered. I have many questions for each one of them. The community and the audience, I'm sure, also had questions, and we couldn't go through them. But on the positive side, I think it's a great reason to invite all of them once again in future, right? Let me check the comments before we switch to the next topic. Mariana says, our guru Theo, we all love your altruism and open mind. I'm not altruistic. I get paid for this. But I care for you. I don't think it's altruism. I was just, I didn't have this. And I thought it would be great if at least I can provide it to others. And once again, back then, as I needed help, some people in forums helped me and they always knew more than me. So I couldn't help them back. So I decided to at least pay it forward. That's it. I'm not an altruist, but thank you. I really appreciate it, Mariana. Ulfat says, I can relate with what you're talking about. Actually, I had the same problem. My face comes very red easily, and now because I work from home as a freelancer, I don't see people, so my social anxiety is worse. My face is also getting red, as you can see, but this gets better with time, believe me. The more I do, like if you go back to watch the first shows, you'll see me like a tomato back then, and I don't look like this anymore. But even if so what? We've seen red-faced people. Amit says, all the best for Beam Theo. Thank you very much. I will probably, it's an event. It is what you talked about in the beginning. It is an event where if I'll be talking about the group. So I won't be an official speaker. I'll be, let's say, on the chaos side, just mentioning the group with a quick presentation. But it will be my first time talking in front of people because similar to Ulfat, I've always preferred solitude and being on my own. And I don't like doing this, but I'll have to. This is good for the group, so I'll have to do it. Mario says, even though you get paid, what you do is beyond that paycheck. I also think so, but it's difficult. It's difficult to differentiate, and to some degree you're paid, but you cannot. If you care for somebody, you cannot just stop caring because your payment limit is reached, right? You just continue caring for them. So you saw, even though I was, moving my office the last weeks, I still tried to be in the group every evening, late in the evening when I went to bed, so that you don't miss me that much. But it was awesome that you guys were there and were like people like Amit. Also Sheriff, he's been very active lately, but also Danushka and the others. It was awesome that you were there to help each other. So my missing wasn't that bad. Anyway, Cam says, I really like this kind of trees and tried placing them randomly. Okay, we're talking about Cam's project. Okay, I like your honesty about this. Anyway, okay, so we talked about this, and I think everything is clear so far. So right now the screen shows the before and after of your room, Theo. It's so nice to see it. Oh yeah, let me just go back. Yeah, I like the previous room. It was very personal, but we needed to move in 2021 within 1 month during the pandemic from one city to another, very, very far away. We knew nothing. We had no help. So, on the go, on the fly, I decided that this one will be my studio, and we just ran with it. And now, some years later, we can maybe, when we refunction some rooms, becoming this studio that you see behind me now makes a lot more sense. But, learning by doing. Anyway, great observation, Amit. Anyway, let's continue with the second topic, because I just talked about leaving your comfort zone, challenging oneself to advance and so on. And while this is absolutely true, and I stand behind this, the issue is that while doing that, a lot of artists tend to neglect their health and personal life, which often results in very negative consequences, losing passion for what you actually initially loved, becoming isolated, like what Ulfat just described, and also getting actual physical and mental health issues. And there was this great article that I shared, which Vasilis shared in the VW Art initially, and then I posted it or forwarded it over to our community about 3D depression, called 3D depression, about exactly this type of problematic and issues. And it seemed to resonate with many, way too many, actually, artists, not only in the VW Art Club, but also in the Chaos Campus community. So I just wanted to remind you to please do your best to avoid this and actually achieve some work-life balance. I never liked this expression, work-life balance. It sounds shitty to me. I don't like it, but it makes a lot of sense, unfortunately. Don't bend under the peer pressure, because you hear the whole time a lot of people, not only from the visualization industry, but from all around the world, telling you how life is about hustle and grind and all of this. Yeah, I agree, you need to work hard. But remember that without your health, you have absolutely nothing. I like to imagine health, screw that, as a column holding a ceiling. Okay, let's be a bit metaphoric here. With time, every time you don't get enough sleep, you don't eat properly, you don't drink enough, you don't get enough exercise or movement, every time you're very stressed and overworked, this column starts getting cracks and starts crumbling. But it still holds the ceiling, right? So you're like, hey, if this happens, it happens to others, but not to me. Until the day the column fails, and with it, the whole ceiling fails. And if you imagine the column was your health and the ceiling was, let's say, your whole existence, the moment these two collapse, you're screwed. And I know people think that this doesn't happen. Like, no, not to me, to anybody else, but not me. Unfortunately, I've seen it with many people around me. For example, a colleague of my wife, he was in his mid-20s. A fit guy, very pleasant and very hardworking. The chefs were absolutely amazed by him and loved him. One day he didn't come to work. The next day he also didn't show up. And at some point they started thinking, did something happen to him? What's wrong? They tried calling, going to his apartment, no answer. At some point, like a week later, his parents called the company and said he cannot get out of bed. I mean, I've seen this dude. He has the muscle to get out of bed. It was not like he was hanging out with the wrong crowd. He was taking drugs or, smoking a joint, playing computer games, reading books. He was just lying in his bed, staring at the ceiling because of the pressure, because of his mental health collapsed. And with this, his whole existence collapsed. So he had to start from the beginning. His advancement in the company, gone. Everything he has reached was kind of gone. And he had to more or less start from the beginning, And he had to re-socialize himself. So remember, when you don't take care of your health and it collapses, you have nothing. You cannot take care of your kids, of your significant other, of yourself, of your business, anything. You're out. So I don't want this to be like apocalyptic or doomsday scenario, but these things happen. And it's up to you to decide. So don't let this get this far. Life's about balance, not about extremes, at least the way I see it. Try to balance your life. Try to have time for the people around you. Try to have social communications. You just heard what Ulfat said. She isolated herself at home, working behind the screen, and now her social anxiety skyrocketed. It's only normal. If you need this to change, you need to go out. If you need your health to be stable so that the column holds the ceiling the longest, you need to move, you need to exercise, you need to go out, to hike, whatever your hobby is. You need to meet people. Don't let this be everything you do. I'm sitting in front of the PC for 15 hours a day. I'm such a machine. Yes, up to a point you can be. Then everything will crumble and you lose everything. And once again, I've seen this happen multiple times with people around me. They were very far and they lost everything. So please take this seriously. If you haven't read this article, please make sure to read it. And please make sure to take care of the people around you. of your social life, of your health, both physical and mental. Usually they are correlated, actually, because this is the foundation you build upon. If this foundation is not there, you cannot build anything. Okay, so it's an important, as Amit says, very important topic. Ulfat says very important point. It is important. It is one of the most important things you have in life. Literally, it's not a point of view here. It is. Without it, you're screwed. This is it. So take care of it, and remember that you are the one making the decisions. Yes, if people say, yeah, they get up at 2 in the morning and then work the whole day, let them do it. You do your thing, which is good for yourself, for the people around you, for your health, because you have a limited amount of it. And sometimes restoring it, if possible at all, takes a very long time. And during that time, you cannot do anything else because you need to really focus only on that. And this is not a good business plan.